Okay, welcome to the second video, but reminding of factoring. So what we're looking at here is simple factoring. This particular example is going to show us simple factoring utilizing the sum product or product sum form. This is for simple trinomials. So those ones where we have ax squared plus bx plus c. We want to make sure that a equals 1. And if it doesn't equal 1, we're going to need to do some things in order to make sure that this expression has a equaling 1. We'll get to an example about that, but let's focus first on some examples where we can just start with having our a already being 1. So in the example here, we have x squared plus 15x plus 14. In this example, we need to first start by identifying what our product and what our sum is. So remember that the product is what we get when the two n numbers, so those last parts in FOIL, multiply by each other. That gives us our C value, or this information right here. So that is our product. That 14 is the product. So we can put P equals 14. Our sum is when we add the outside using our FOIL, so that second thing that we do, and then the inside when we do FOIL. That is our sum. So that's going to be our middle term right here. So our S here is 15. So what we're looking at for this one, we're trying to find a number that, well, two numbers that multiply to 14, but add to 15. So what we can start off by doing is doing a factors of 14 and our sum. So factors of 14 are 1 and 14. And if we add those together, we get 15. Oh, well, that was pretty easy. We don't need to go anywhere farther. That's it. So we can now set up our brackets. Our brackets would be x plus 1. That's one of our factors here. You can see right here, we're going to put that information here. With product sum method, it doesn't matter which term goes where. So we could have just as easily put 14 where that 1 is, but we just put them in order, highest to lowest, and then our other bracket would be x plus 14. Now, if we want to check to make sure we did it right, what we can do is actually do FOIL. So we're going to check our answer. So I'm just going to write that out. So if we do that, we're going to have x plus 1, x plus 14, and we're going to multiply it out with FOIL. So if we did x times x, we get x squared. Then we do outside, x times 14 gives us plus 14x. Inside, x plus times 1, that gives us x. And 1 times 14 gives us 14. Bring all the information together, and we get x squared plus 15x plus 14. As you can see, our checking answer is the exact same as what we started with. Therefore, we did our factoring properly. You can do this anytime you're not quite sure if you did your factoring right, just to make sure that you got your answer. This is a great way to practice checking to make sure you did everything right. And if something seems off and this wasn't the correct same as what you started with, you can ask for help and we can build on from that. So let's try another example of simple factoring. Here we have x squared minus 18x minus 40. So let's start with identifying our product and our sum. So our product here is with the C position, so negative 40. And we have our sum, which is negative 18. So we're going to start off quickly by looking here. we notice that our product is negative. That means that when we're looking for numbers, one of our numbers will be positive and one of them are going to be negative. We know this because a positive and a positive, when they multiply each other out, we get a positive. A negative and a negative, when we multiply those out, we get a positive. But when we have a negative and a positive and we multiply them together, we get a negative. So we already know that one of our numbers is going to have to be negative. So when we set this up, you can already start putting a negative in one bracket and a positive in the other. Another hint for us to check this out is that we notice that our sum is also negative. So what we need to remember is that because we have a number line, whatever number we find out that will work to have those two numbers where we multiply one by the other, that larger number is going to be our negative. So we can already help to start bringing down how we're going to do this. So what we want to now check is our factors of 40 and checking the sum. So let's start with trying to figure out some factors of 40. In this case, negative 40. So one of them could be negative 40 and 1. Okay, negative 40 and 1 do multiply to negative 40, but they add to negative 39. That is not what we're looking for. So let's try the next one. Let's try negative 20 and 2. Okay, that does multiply to negative 40. What does that add to? Negative 20 plus 2 gives us negative 18. Oh, there's our number. So we're going to put that negative 20 over here and that 2 adding. So this is how we can start finding out our product and sum method. All right, now the last one here, we have 4x squared plus 8x minus 252. This one doesn't fit the method we usually use because where the a is, if we look back up here, a, which is right in front of the x squared, is not 1. So when we're looking at ones where we have an a that is not equal to 1, we need to start by removing that 1, that non-number 1, from the rest of the equation. So how we do that is by taking out the greatest common factor, which is basically common factoring. So first step is we common factor. If we look at this one here, we're going to have 4 coming out of the 4x squared. So we're dividing by 4. We're going to divide by 4 again for each term. What that's going to give us is now 4 on the outside of the bracket. 4x squared divided by 4 gives us x squared. Great, we have a 1 in front of there. We're good to go. Now we need to do the rest. So 8x divided by 4 gives us 2x. And 252 divided by 4 gives us 63. So negative 63 on the bottom. Okay, this particular thing here is what we need to do our product and sum method. We have a 1 in front of the x squared again. So what we need to now do is identify our product and identify our sum. Our product in this case is our negative 63, and our sum is 2. Excellent. So now that we know this, we can already start looking at some information that we know. Since our product is negative, we know that we're going to have a negative and a positive number. So we can start setting up our brackets already. We have x plus something and x minus something. And now looking at our sum, we see that this is a positive 2. So we know the larger of the two numbers that are multiplying to get to negative 63 will be positive. If the larger number was negative, our sum would be negative. And simply if you look at a number line, you'll be able to see the reasoning why for that. Just happen to know if we subtract our larger number is negative, when you take a smaller number from it, it's still going to be negative. So now let's set up our factors to try to figure out what factor we need to multiply to negative 63 and add to 2. So we've got factors of negative 63. We've got some on the other side. Let's start. Okay, so our first factor would be negative 63 and 1. Well, that gives us negative 62. Not what we're looking for. Okay, 2 doesn't divide into 63. Does 3? Yep, so that's going to be negative 21 times by 3. That gives us negative 63. And when we add those together, that gives us negative 18. No, not what we're looking for. 4 doesn't go into negative 63. 5 doesn't go into negative 63. 6 also doesn't go into negative 63. But 7 does, and 9. So negative 9 times by 7. That gives us negative 63. And when we add those together, sorry, I've been doing this backwards. We want to have this as the positive number, and this is our negative number. So I'm going to do quickly. You guys notice that I made that mistake, but we can easily just delete that. We're good. So positive 9 times by negative 7 gives us negative 63. And when we add those together, we're going to get 2. These are the numbers that we want. Let's circle them in red. Those are our numbers that we want. So we're going to put those two numbers in the correct spots. So x plus 9, x minus 7. And that's how you do a simple factor when we don't have a 1 in front. We start off by getting rid of that 4, so we factored it out. Once we factored it out, we got something that we could use. We have a 1 in front of the x squared, and we have our sum, and we have our product. We identified those, and then we found out our factors and found out our sums that work. And then we put the information in there. Remember, it doesn't matter if we wrote x plus 9, x minus 7, or if we put x minus 7 and then x plus 9. At this point, it doesn't really matter the ordering. So just make sure that you have the two numbers with the appropriate sign next to them, and that's fine. Okay, so that concludes our video on simple factoring, so that product sum method for trinomials. Next video, we'll go into the more complex versions.